Hi everyone, it's Roger here from What's On at Disney Plus, and today we are going to be doing a live Q&A. So I do this each and every Sunday where I ask questions from our YouTube channel members and patrons who have been able to submit questions in advance. Also, YouTube channel members can join in on the live chat right now and join in. We've got Kayla, we've got Bubba trolling in there, so big hello to all of you. You can also send in your super chats as well, which all help support the channel, support the podcast. Thank you very much to Tough Luck for your first one. So I'll jump into that one once we kind of get underway. So got lots and lots of questions today. A lot of them are about Jimmy Kimmel. I think we have over a dozen of them. So I actually don't think I remember a time where I've had so many questions on one topic. So this is probably going to take up a big chunk of the opening part of the show. I'm going to try and answer all your questions. There might be a little bit of kind of overlap. This is really rare. I literally have post-it notes all over my screen to give me ideas of things that have been on my mind over this entire situation. So, as I said, this is a bit of a unique situation, and I have been kind of like holding out until I kind of see what was happening, because anytime there's any of these kind of big developments, things happen very quickly and things change quickly. And over the last few days, it just feels like the temperature on this situation has just got crazy. And Disney Plus has been kind of dragged into this whole situation. So I want to start off with talking generally. I try to stay out of politics on what's on Disney Plus. I do try to stay out of it. And if there is a story about something political, I do try to be down the middle and just give the facts, man. That's kind of how I like to do it, because I very much agree with the idea that you are entitled to vote for whoever you like, and that's up to you. And that doesn't matter what country you're in, where you are. I'm very much in that mindset that everyone should vote, everyone should have an opinion, everyone is entitled to that opinion, and it is up to you to decide. And generally, I grew up in an era where, my grandparents and stuff told us not, you didn't ask anybody what they voted for, and you kind of stayed away from that topic. However, me and my dad would always, have lots of conversations about stuff. I love watching the news. I very much try and keep up with the latest. Now, obviously, I am here in the UK and I am British. So therefore, there is all this stuff that happens in the United States, which I will have a different opinion on, because I am in the UK and I'm British. And therefore, my kind of way of growing up and the way of looking at things is very different. And so therefore, I just do want to put that out there. And I think that's definitely a thing. So if you aren't too sure what's been going on this week, so following the tragic death of Charlie Kirk, now without saying, killing someone because of that in that whole situation, definitely, that is just so bad. And also, again, it kind of hits me with the same thing as well of being not in America. The concept of the American gun laws are scary to me. I don't fully understand the obsession with it. And yeah, I'm much more on that, I would probably say on the left side, because I live in a country where we don't have it and where they've been banned. So therefore, that's just normal. It's not a regular problem in our politics over here. So it's a little bit different. But so following the tragic death, there was an episode of the Jimmy Kimmel live show where he spoke about it, mainly from the point of view that the blame was trying to be put onto the left, and none of the information had come out. And he was just trying to point out the fact that we didn't really know a lot yet. And that kind of angered a lot of people. And this then led to, I'm just going to bring up the article here. He said, "We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anyone other than one of them, and doing everything they can to score political points from it. It's been in between the finger pointing. There's also been some grieving." And he kind of went on then about Trump. That was kind of pretty much what it was. So that was what he said. Now, I don't think that wasn't a joke. It wasn't a gag. It wasn't anything like that. But a lot of people didn't like what was going on. The thing that really kind of pushed everything was the chairman of the Federal Communications Commission, Brendan Carr, appeared on the Benny Johnson podcast and went on to take and kind of said that they'd be taking action against Disney and ABC, saying we can do this the easy way or the hard way, and kind of very much kind of in a gangster mobster kind of thing of, like walking into someone's restaurant and kind of saying, oh, it's a nice place here, shame if someone smashed up if you don't give me some money, kind of thing. Very threat. So just from that there, and he said, there was other things that were coming in. Nexstar and Sinclair, which own, I think it's about 60 plus channels which run ABC, they are affiliates. They then put pressure on to Disney that said that they would no longer carry the show, impacting on advertisers. Disney was then kind of forced into a situation where they had to indefinitely pull the show. So again, they were being under pressure from the affiliates, Nexstar and Sinclair, and also threats from the FCC. And this whole situation was kind of coming about because Disney needs to get FCC's approval for the buyout of NFL Media. Also has to get the FCC approval of the Fubo. So they have to do that. A little bit like what we've seen with Paramount and Skydance. They had to get the FCC approval to get that through, which is why a lot of people accept the fact that the Stephen Colbert show was kind of cancelled because of it. So there's that situation. President Trump has been very vocal about the fact that he dislikes the late night talk show hosts. He kind of gloated a little bit when Stephen Colbert was cancelled and said that Jimmy Kimmel would be next. And we've also then seen President Trump also then spoke out about it as well. And just generally, President Trump said, great news for America. The ratings challenge Jimmy Kimmel show is cancelled. Congratulations to ABC for finally having the courage to do what had to be done. Kimmel has zero talent and worse ratings than even Colbert. If that's possible, that leaves Jimmy and Seth two total losers on fake news NBC. Their ratings are also horrible. Do it NBC. And that came from President. So since then, after the show was put on hold. Now, apparently, the idea was that the decision came from Bob Iger and also Dana Walden, and there's been talks going on throughout the week with Jimmy Kimmel. Apparently, Sinclair and Nexstar wanted Kimmel to issue a public apology, but they also wanted him to donate to Charlie Kirk's family or charity. I'm not gonna lie, I don't really know too much about him before this whole situation. And which in some ways it's like forcing someone to give a donation is blackmail. If someone was at your work and they say, oh yeah, you have to apologize and you have to give us some money, or I'm not really sure that's I think having an apology I get, and if you wanted to give a donation to kind of make it look sincere, I get that, but I think forcing someone is a little bit risky. So with that, there has then been a massive outcrying over the fact that people are against what's been going on with Disney and Disney caving to Trump and the FCC because, the whole situation, because he basically threatened, the leader of the FCC basically threatened that if Disney brings back Kimmel, they could lose their linear license, which could mean ABC gets taken off the air. So from that point of view, like in my mind, and this is where I stand on this, to me, Disney are being put under pressure from a federal unit and also from their affiliates. They are being pressured into making a decision that they probably didn't want to make. And in some ways, in my head, I'm looking at them as a victim, because if this was any other business rather than Disney, and this was happening to a local shop or any business, you'd be like, well, surely, all the pressure is on them. However, in this case, it's a bit of a weird situation, I think, where there's a lot of people really putting a lot of pressure onto Disney and the fact of seeing that they've caved to Trump. And with that, there's a lot of expectations that they want them to fight for their first right amendment, and they're just doing it to get for the FCC approvals for their two big deals. And there's a lot of pressure on Disney to do this. And personally, I actually think a lot of this it feels like there's a lot of people wanting Disney to do the fight and to be the hero and to stand up and do all the legal stuff to face, Trump and the rest of it, because they're a big billion-dollar corporation and they should stand up for what's right. And it's a little bit like, if you're expecting businesses to stand up for people and for the country and all the rest of it, it's like, that's not a business's job. A business's job is there to make money. That is what it's there for. That's what it exists for. And I would say this to anyone. I would not expect Apple or Netflix or anyone else. It's not their job to pick fights with governments. That's for politicians and for the people. That's for them to do. And I do feel like, from my point of view and from someone outside of the US, it's like, why is not all the anger being directed towards the FCC and maybe Nexstar and Sinclair? Why is Disney getting all the blame? And I think a lot of it, for me, comes down to an expectation that Disney is going to fight the good fight and be a hero and try and save everything and try and fix the situation. And they're not. And let's go back 2-3 years ago to the whole Don't Say Gay bill, when that got sort of introduced, and Disney went to bat for it, and all hell broke loose, and they had massive legal problems across Florida. They were being brought into problems with the political system, Elon, Trump, they got dragged with cancel culture from left, right, and center because of all of what was happening there when they did stand up. So understandably, I can see why they were like, look, Disney have been very open about the fact that they don't want to get into culture wars, and they're trying to keep everybody happy. And it feels like in this situation, they're kind of going, look, yeah, we don't really know what, we'll just kind of ease off here and just stand back. And now everyone's piling in on them and blaming them. There's been this massive trend over the last few days of people calling for Disney Plus to be cancelled and for Hulu to be cancelled and people not to go to Disney World. But there's so much fake and bullshit information being put out onto the internet. And I've been seeing clips of, look how quiet Disney World is. Like, huh? People going to Disney World this weekend and like posting a picture of some random little area that's quiet to try and prove a point. I'm like, people that are going there this weekend would have brought their tickets 6 months, a year ago. That's not going to have an impact. So I do think that is, from my personal view, I feel like the attention and everyone's hate and anger should be directed towards the people putting the pressure and why it got cancelled. So that's on that side of things. Now, Disney are in my mind, in a no-win situation. If they back down to the government, which makes sense from a business point of view in some ways, they are going to alienate the left. If they bring him back, they alienate the right. They literally are in a no-win situation. No matter what they do, someone is going to be pissed off with them. Now, I have seen a lot of twisting and turning over the last few days where I think, like, for example, Ted Cruz, I did see quite a few comments here in the live chat already. Again, I'm just going to try and keep all this going before I jump into the questions, just to kind of give my thoughts, etc. So Ted Cruz talked about it being, the guy from FCC being a bit like a mobster and coming in and being very threatening, and how this could be bad. And I think there's a lot of people starting to realize that the pressure from Disney and this whole cancel culture, and there's a lot, my YouTube channel and my social medias are constantly being filled with comments. I think they're aiming at Disney, but seem to think I am Disney and I'm getting all this abuse. And I'm just, it's like, whatever. It's like, I've gone through this many times before with every time there's a Buzz Lightyear, Gina Carrero, all this stuff. Every time I randomly get all these random comments on my stuff and in the Facebook group, and it's just like, whatever, it's nothing to do with me. This is down to you lot. You just type away if that makes you feel better. But it's not going to make, insulting me doesn't really help the situation, because there's nothing I can do about it. Because, in fairness, I am a Jimmy Kimmel fan. I do watch the monologue every single day when I wake up in the morning. I tend to watch him. I'll watch, I do like Stephen Colbert's one, Seth Meyers' one. I don't like Jimmy Kimmel. I'll catch up with the odd bit of John Oliver and Bill Murray, but the HBO is a bit more weird with putting things out there. And as Bubbock says, you don't get paid enough to deal with Disney's backlash. Yeah, and again, it's not my fault. I ain't the one doing it. It's not my decision. But yeah, all of this comes in, and a lot of people coming in. Now, I also want to say, right, let's see what else we've got here. Yeah, bots. I think there is a lot of the social media chatter, and we're seeing a lot of it. I think a lot of this is, let's just say, external places and countries and government regimes and stuff that are poking and fueling the fire. Whenever anything seems to be happening now, we are seeing more and more negativity and these just endless bots and just piling on about all the problems and just trying to create a mess, create online chaos, to create this whole thing about. And there's people that are taking advantage of it with clickbait and engagement bait, because there's a lot of money to be made by making. I've seen like Disney's lost $3 billion and Disney's lost $100 billion. And it's like, okay, so stock dropped a little bit. The stock could be back up again tomorrow. Like, stock price doesn't really, and there's like things of Disney's being cancelled by the left and the right at the same time. And yeah, it's an absolute mess. It's an absolute political mess. And I'm sure Disney will go around, what the hell do we do? Because yeah, what do we do? What do they do? It's a bit of pressure. As Bubba Trollin just said, do you think they'll cancel The View? This was then brought in with the FCC bloke also then kind of commenting about the fact of The View might be something that they want to get rid of because he doesn't, because they're very much kind of more to the left. Not gonna lie, I have never watched an episode of The View. I'm guessing it's a little bit like Loose Women here in the UK, which is awful. Yeah, there's a lot of pressure being put on. A lot of people are starting to wake up to the idea of like, the FCC shouldn't be pressurizing company, and we've seen it with Trump as well, with his lawsuit with New York Times or New York Post or one of them this weekend. There's a lot of pressure being put on it. And I think Disney are in this weird situation where people are expecting a lot more from them than maybe if this was Apple or Netflix or Amazon, I don't think people would be quite as annoyed with it. But so yeah, so that's all the notes off that one. Let's see what we've got here. No, that one's done. Again, comments on my own. And this online campaign as well. There is a massive online, it feels like there's a massive online campaign to bring down Disney and to make it worse. And I put that into, there's a lot of people basically sort of shit stirring and kind of creating the chaos because they love just seeing people fighting online. I do question how many of these actual posts, I've cancelled this. And it's like, okay, you're cancelling and stuff. I do feel like, how many of these are actually doing it? How many people aren't? And I also have a very much a feeling that, we're coming up to Black Friday. Disney is going to do one hell of a Black Friday Disney streaming bundle deal. I bet it's going to be like something like $1.99 or 99 cents, something crazy, where they are just going to be like, come back, get Disney Plus and Hulu for like 99 cents or $1.99 for 3 months each, and then numbers will go back up. Most of it, this could all be over within a week. This whole situation could be over in a week. So that's all my notes. I've got 3 post-it notes. So it's rare. I've gone 20 minutes of just me rambling, and I've not even answered any of your questions today. It is a very, very weird situation. So let me just jump in now and let's start doing some of your questions. So if you've got any questions, I'm going to try and keep on the Kimmel situation and get all of them done first. Right, let's see. So Tough Luck, thank you very much for your super chat. You said, I bet Jimmy Kimmel Live will return soon, but on Disney Plus to finish out the contract and fall outside the FCC and local broadcast networks control. So this is something that's been I think brewing for a while. Jimmy Kimmel's contract is up next year, and the big question that has been is, will he renew? He has talked about stopping the show himself. I wouldn't be at all surprised if they do announce he's coming back, that he might say, I'm just going to finish out my contract. That's my kind of view, that they might just do that, where finish and kind of do what the Stephen Colbert has done, then they can kind of get away maybe with the idea that he's coming back. The big question is going to be whether or not Kimmel will come back under the conditions, whether Nexstar and that will come back. I think the idea of moving the show over to Disney Plus or Hulu is a good, it might be a way out for them to kind of move it away from the FCC. I'm not sure if that will satisfy everybody. I do think that's a good option to maybe continue on with him, take it off the FCC situation, or maybe offer it. And so therefore Nexstar and Sinclair, for example, who are both trying to get through billion-dollar corporation mergers themselves, which is why they don't want to piss off the FCC. You know, not that there's any conflict of interest in any of this stuff. And this is why, you know, just for me, again, as someone from the UK, this just feels insane. This whole situation of mergers and kind of like, you know, it's just so corrupt. It's just, it's awful, absolutely awful and corrupt. So whether or not they moved it over to Hulu and Disney Plus and can kind of finish out his contract, and that might kind of sort the situation out. It's definitely, I think, a good alternative way of maybe pleasing and kind of getting around the FCC problem, but also keeping everybody happy. I don't know. I think that I would imagine they're still going to get stick if they do that, because people will see them as that they've caved in. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of weird. I've seen so many people talking about his ratings and all the rest of it. It's like, yeah, his ratings aren't good, but look how good his YouTube channel views are. I wish I had them views. But yeah, again, thank you so much. Tough luck for your super chat there. Miles, you also sent in a question. If Bob Iger does an expanded edition of the Rider's lifetime, do you think there could be an entire chapter dedicated to the Kimmel situation? No, I don't think he's going to go anywhere near this stuff. I don't think he's going to want to bother. He's been trying to tidy up his legacy. I don't think he'll want to do anything like this. Let's see. I'm just going to do some from the live chat first off. Bobatron says, to answer the question, I think it's going to be a Hulu original. Again, I think that would be a way of circumnavigating the FCC and keeping the free rights channel. You know, that's, and then it could fix some problems, but not fix all of them. It's a bit of a compromise, which I do like the idea of. It means that then they haven't caved in completely. They have caved into the FCC and the affiliates, but they've also haven't caved in for the freedom of speech to be able to say what he wants, and it's on YouTube. That is, to me, a really good way of doing it. Kelly says, to answer the question, I believe it's possible that Kimmel will be reinstated, as you said in the article, that they could make a condition where a show ends in ABC in May. I think that might be, they could do the Kimmel or the Cobra way, but also I think the trouble is with that is, I know if, like any of us, if we got told that our job is coming up in May and you're off the cuff, he might become more off the cuff because he knows he's going. I don't know. Katie says, I'm left leaning, but I'm not to the far left. I think again, it's a little bit different with like here in the UK of like what would be considered left and right. Like our right probably would still be considered left in the US. Bubak says, do you think there'll be cancellations outside of the US, or will this not affect the rest of the world in terms of subscription? In all honesty, no, I don't. Jimmy Kimmel is not really it did make mainstream news here. It was on the local, it was on the talk radio station I was listening to the other day. It did make the BBC news, so it was a big headline. But I don't think Jimmy Kimmel's show is, all the talk shows, other than watching them on YouTube, most of them don't air on networks here. I don't think really a lot of people outside the US really give kind of, toots really about what some of the stuff that's going on in America. I'm just being honest. There will be some people that will be upset, especially those that enjoy the show on YouTube. But I think more of it is just stirring the pot and just getting people riled up. Ted Cruz said the FCC is acting like the mafia. That's definitely what I think. Kelly says, I've read some international Disney Plus subscribers that are in solidarity with the US. And again, I would stress, and I will very much stress this, be aware that on social media, the comments and posts, etc., they could be coming from anywhere. And why are they being? Why is there always things stirring up the pot? Think about the grander picture. There's a lot of influence trying to get the West kind of fighting with each other, because then we're distracted from the other situations going on in the world. And there are, remember from Superman, all the chimps. So that's what I think there are a number of factories around the world that are doing exactly what happened in Superman. I'm not saying there is people upset and all the rest of it, but take how much noise there is on any problem on social media with a pinch of salt. Carly said not only Ted Cruz, but Carr's overplayed his hand. Also Mike Pence and the Libertarian think tanks. I think there's a lot of people that are kind of going, they've overstretched it. Next up owns the CW. I'm fine only watching NXT highlights on YouTube. Yeah, or you can watch it on Netflix with, a little device. Matt says, do you think we'll get a Fantastic Four collection? 100%. Bowick says, I think Disney is not good at split-second decisions. We all remember the James Gunn issue. Yeah, well, I think the trouble is that the pressure builds up. And again, a temporary, an indefinite pause is not cancellation. There was a lot of this stuff that always been fired. It could be undone tomorrow. It's just a pause. Kay says, I'm fine with Disney postponing the acquisitions of Fubo and NFL Media. Let Kimmel finish out his contract, and once his deal's done, they can proceed forward. Well, I mean, there is that, but then I also feel a little bit like, from my point of view, it'd be like, why should Disney have to make a concession like that in order to do business? So you're not allowed to insult or even question authority. You have to just comply. And if you don't comply, you can't do business. That doesn't sit right with me. And which is probably where I probably side more with being a business owner for like 25, 30 years. I generally will, my business brain will tend to lean towards the business decisions, where I'd be like, how much money is Kimmel bringing in? How much money is this situation going to cost us? How much do we need those other assets? Do we want to? Is it worth pissing off the administration and the FCC for this situation? This is where I do sometimes think that Disney Plus idea of putting them over onto streaming could be the get out clause for them. Babak says, should companies avoid acquisitions during the administration, since there seems to be, if you send enough money over, it seems to get going through. Kaylee said there's also talent revolt from cast and crew on Disney films. Yeah, but I think the trouble is, this happened last time. This happened a couple of years ago, and it worked out really badly for Disney financially. And while all this is again, there's a lot of, I think there's a lot of expectations that the company is just going to jump in front in a Superman costume and want to protect the world. And I do think that is some people's expectations seem like the company shouldn't be doing this. The politicians and the people should be doing this. The pressure should be being put on I think, again, because our political system here in the UK, we have what we call the it's basically like the shadow cabinet, and we have the opposition, and our MPs and Prime Minister have to face off each other in Parliament for Q&A every single week. There's a lot more argy-bargy talky between the two sides constantly. And when one side does something, the other side, no matter which whoever you vote for, the other sides will push back on it. And I'm always used to that, because that's how our political system works. In the US, it feels a little bit like everyone's kind of to me, from my side of it, it feels like the Democrats have all kind of gone on holiday for 2 years and just stuck their head down and hoping to kind of come out in 2 years' time when it's time for the primaries or the next election. It feels, other than like Gavin Newsom doing, is it Newsom? Yeah, Gavin, copying Trump on Twitter. Anyway, this is a real political one today. It's not usually what we have to do. Beltronic says, do you think Disney will censor or cancel The View? I do. It's very noticeable that I have been reading a few articles where they have been avoiding the conversation regarding the situation with Kimmel. And I would very much expect that the bosses at The View or Disney have said to The View, like, quiet, because if you make too much noise, you're out. And again, this is where that freedom of speech comes in, but also freedom of speech is not free of consequences. You have, but it does feel like The View. I know every time I post something about The View, because I do an article every single week where I just highlight who's on it. And basically, the same thing I do with a few of the things. If basically my list, the only people that get named in the top in the headline are people that I know. If I don't recognize the name, they don't get. So I'll just go down the list. It's the same with Good Morning America. If I don't know who they are, I don't put them on the list, because in my view, is like, if I don't know who they are, they're not big enough to warrant it. So every time I do it, people will be like, "This show shouldn't be on Disney," and it's like, I don't know. It's just loose women, isn't it? Kaylee says, I've sold my share in Disney a few days ago. I haven't cancelled a Disney bundle yet since it's linked to Hulu Live, and I'm exploring other options. Of course, this could cool off. I think, again, from my point of view with this, and I would say this to anyone thinking about cancelling, is why are you angry at Disney, and why aren't you more pissed off with Nexstar and the FCC? Why isn't your anger aimed at them? And that's just because they're the ones putting the pressure on Disney to do it. And I would definitely say, wait for this to just cool over. Having a instant reaction of like, and are you being influenced by social media? Why are you getting in such a worked up over it? Is it some? Do you only watch Jimmy Kimmel? So I think there is that kind of thing of, think about it. Don't be influenced by other people, and think about it realistically of going, what else do it's like, this all could be over with tomorrow. Ultimately, if they turn, but it's like, say Disney fired Kimmel. The question is why is that? Why would be? If Kimmel decides he doesn't agree with this and won't come, what if Kimmel decides he won't come back? Are they going to take it out on Disney still? It's like, there's so many multiple levels to this. I just feel like with everyone, I'm just like, just let this thing work itself out a little bit. Now, as if you're a Hulu Live TV customer, I'd question, would you want to spend $100 a month on cable when you on basically a version of cable which you could probably get other alternatives cheaper? Matt says Shifting Gears is going to have guest stars that play. Yeah, there's a bit of a connection over. Chris says, I think if Disney cancels The View now, there'll be more of a backlash and hurt them even more. Oh, yeah, because if they did cancel the View right now, they would be seen as even more caving in, which is the biggest problem they've got right now. I think because there's going to be stories coming out soon. I imagine they'll be like, oh, The View are being suppressed from saying what they want from the executives. And there's going to be a load of lies and stuff being sworn around, just again, I'm just getting very, very aware that it feels like every single day you fire up the app and the internet is pissed off with something, and by tomorrow they'll be moving on to the next thing to get everyone rattled up and worked up about. Babak says the ironic thing, the viewers always talking about gossip and they didn't mention this. Yeah, but they've been told off. Matt says Kimmel is only 4 days a week. Yeah, I think most of them are now. Miles says, regarding the Disney Plus option, there could be a third option scenario for Jimmy Kimmel. Yeah, I think it's a good option. I think it's a good back out option. Babak also said it would be, maybe move it down to 2 or 3 nights a week. That could save them money. Babak says Stephen Colbert has been definitely more off the cuff and taking more pot shots at Paramount. Yeah, and also I did really like The Daily Show this week when they had Jon Stewart on there, and he was like, he started off kind of like, I'm not going to say anything to up, and I thought that was good. Babatronic says, why do you think analysts are saying that ABC isn't important to Disney? What are your thoughts? I think there's a lot, again, there's some analysts and some investor analysts that think very short term, and they feel very much like they're in, they don't watch ABC, and so therefore in their view that if they don't watch it, nobody's watching it and they should just get rid of it. ABC allows Disney to reach a massive audience, And I think ABC will be the last channel that they get rid of, because while it's still reaching a mass audience, they'll want to keep it around. It reaches an audience that maybe streaming doesn't, and it does offer an alternative. And it is a massive part of the ecosystem for Disney. And I think some of the analysts, they want Disney to become, all they care about with this, some of these investors and analysts, is all they're interested in is getting the stock price up and then making some money on it and then getting out. They're not looking at the long term. I'm more interested in the content and what stuff gets put out that I can watch. I'm not necessarily interested in the other bits. So I'm just going to run through some of these questions before we get onto anything. So Matt says, what did you think of the Jimmy show getting cancelled? And I think I've kind of given you that. Do you think the other late night shows will survive? So obviously Colbert will be going. I do think that we are probably going to see most of the other, in the next 5 years, I think we're probably going to see most of the late night talk shows coming to a close, because they're just too expensive to create. I look at Jimmy Kimmel Live, and I like the monologues, and I like the monologues of all the chat shows. Other thing, I don't like Fallon. I don't know why. He just doesn't. I just don't think he's very good. So I like the monologue. The interviews, they're so bland. I don't bother with any of the interviews. To me, that is something you can. They're all just plug in whatever the latest movie and show is. It's going to be super fuzzy, super nice, nothing of any real interest. Boring. Move on. So I don't bother with them. I don't fully understand. The whole thing of having the band feels like something out of the 50s and the 60s. That do we need him? I know Seth Meyers, they got rid of the band to try and save money. I don't really understand why Kimmel has a security guard that, I know he does some skits with it, but I don't really get why they need him. They could save his butt. If I was looking at it, if I was to run if I was to re-sign a new contract, I'd be like, right, we need to trim this right down. Maybe we only do this. Maybe we only do this on the weekends, like the John Oliver show and the Bill Maher show, where they just go out once a week. That would be right. I just don't. Yeah, I just feel like that's it. Babak says, when do you think Kimmel will come back on the air? I very much wouldn't be surprised if it was back. Not this week. I would be surprised if it wasn't back within like 2 to 3 weeks, unless Kimmel refuses to do it, because that's the other thing. Mara says, explain how Disney can peacefully and diplomatically resolve the current situation regarding it, especially considering recent events. I'm not sure how the hell they're going to get this, and I'm sure Disney PR have been up all week trying to solve out how do they get out of this. If they don't give in completely, they will be seen to be betraying, the left, and people don't like that. And if they give in, if everything goes back to normal, I don't know if how the FCC is going to deal with that, and also will Nexstar and Sinclair let that happen? Maybe the compromise is that it goes. I don't know. Maybe it just goes like you say, like we've been saying. If they move it to streaming, it circumnavigates the affiliate and the FCC problem, and it allows the free speech and Jimmy Kimmel to continue out. I think that might be the best compromise to please. I don't think everyone would be pleased if they did move it to Hulu and Disney Plus. I think there will be people going, "Oh, they've caved." Well, they have, but they found a way to get around it a little bit. Daniel says, if Disney brings back Jimmy Kimmel Live, could they make it a Hulu exclusive? If they refuse to air it, because this is the big problem, is if Nexstar and Sinclair refuse to put it on the ABC channels, are there going to be enough viewers to make it worthwhile making the show? That's the problem. Babak says, do you think more people watch ABC shows on Hulu than people watch Jimmy Kimmel as the show air? Live viewership on linear has drastically reduced. There's a lot more people watching it on refresh on the day after, but also there's a lot more people just watching the clips on social media and on YouTube. Like I said, I am a prime example of, if the Jimmy Kimmel show was on Disney Plus, I probably only watch 10 minutes of it and then I turn it off. But the YouTube clip comes up and I can watch that and get on with it. Matt says, do you think they'll replace Jimmy Kimmel? No. I don't see any of the late night talk shows being replaced. I think the format in its the way it is will not survive much longer. I think it's a dying thing. Mammoth says Disney currently angered its fans, consumers, the guilds, actors, directors, and other creators due to Disney's decision to suspend Jimmy Kimmel and caving. What should they do to fix the mess? Like I said, this is not an easy situation. It's a no-win situation for Disney. No matter what they do, they are going to have a problem. Now, it depends on what the back channels are. Maybe from the government might be trying to downplay this. There might be some pressure building on them from their side to be like, look, this doesn't look good for us. We need to kind of let them do it. I mean, just the way I saw with Trump as like insulting an Australian reporter in England, because it was all over the news here, of like asking about, we might not make a good deal with you because with your country because you've asked a question. It's not sitting very well with what people are saying. And I think, unfortunately, there's still another 3-4 years of this. What's it? I mean, no election for another 4 years, 3-4 years. It's going to get worse. Bobak says, do you think that the Hulu hub will replace the Star hub outside of the US on October the 8th? Or is that a little mistake? So I think we have actually done. Okay, no, we got one more. Oh no, we actually got a few more. This one jumped in. I don't think it's a mistake. They put it on. I think they did put a mistake, maybe putting it on the live stream for the Futurama. I think they announced it a little bit early. Bobek says, do you think the boycott Disney is facing will impact them? It's going to impact them. I mean, I've seen like someone because they've cancelled their £150,000 wedding, and I'm like, yeah, does your uncle work at Nintendo as well? Like, where's the proof? Where's the evidence in this? Because what seems to happen is someone puts something on Reddit, and then it gets picked up by Twitter, then it gets picked up by TikTok, then it gets picked up by a couple of websites, then it gets picked up again on Twitter and Facebook, and it's like a Chinese whispers, or what do they call? I don't know what you guys call it in America. There's another word for it. That's what it was called when I was a kid. But the story just keeps going around and around and around and around and around. Says, what do you think the wave of the cancellation of Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN due to the backlash Disney is getting for suspending the Jimmy Kimmel? I think it's just crazy. And so my biggest thing really is I think a lot of the blame and focus is in the wrong direction. I think all this needs to be being put onto the FCC and Nexstar and Sinclair for forcing the situation. They're the ones that are pressuring Disney into making this decision. Apparently Disney executives didn't even realize there was a problem with what he said. They didn't really see what all the fuss was about, and now they're having to deal with all this. They are going to have to do something, and they're going to have to find a get out which pleases everybody, and that's probably going to be very difficult. But I think this whole like cancel Disney Plus and don't go to Disney World and don't go to Disney Cruise and hurt Disney for not standing up for them. It's like, why does Disney have to stand up for the right to speak and all? I mean, I know it's a big part of America, but it does feel a little bit like they did this 2 years ago and it absolutely crucified them. So are you understanding why Disney might be a little bit more inclined to be like, maybe don't need to want to do this? Mama says, which is more likely, Disney keeping Jimmy Kimmel live on ABC or shifting it to Hulu Disney Plus? I think, again, the shifting it to Disney Plus and Hulu might be the only way that they can circumnavigate all of it and kind of keep face and go, look, we are... I don't know. I don't even know I don't know if there's going to be people that are going to be pissed off no matter what Disney does. They are never going to please everybody. They've just got to try and please as many as they can. And that could be a way of doing so. And I think I've seen other people saying, oh, Disney should be putting in lawsuits. And it's like, so they've got to spend millions and millions and millions of dollars fighting for the free speech. It's like they'd already go through all this with the Republicans and Ron DeSantis like only like 2 years ago. It just feels like they have already been burnt doing this, and so I feel like everyone's forgotten what, because obviously in the Disney sphere that was such a big problem. Daniel says, how much do you think protests against Disney for the Jimmy Kimmel suspension will impact the box office for the remaining 2025 slate? No, nothing at all. I think a lot of this stuff is, again, this whole problem could be completely forgotten about in 2 days. I mean, the internet has the attention span of a goldfish, and everyone gets upset for a few days, something happens, and then everyone moves on to the next big bad thing. I think a lot of this is people, there's a lot of, like I said to you, there's a lot of online chatter and a lot of people taking advantage to wind people up to get more engagement. And there's also, I think there is a lot of chimp factories all over the world churning out fake outrage to get everybody upset. And I'm convinced of it even more so, that there's this parallel universe full of chimpanzees on laptops writing bad posts about Clark Kent. Bubba China says, do you think the NFL deal and Fubo deals will still go through if Jimmy Kimmel was back on there? I mean, yes, I think they would probably be able, if it might take a bit longer, but I think there would probably be a lot of lawsuits in place if the FCC then, like, they would have to have a very good reason for it. I mean, I don't think Disney needs Fubo, and I don't think they don't need these two other ones, but the long run of the company, Kimmel could be gone in May next year anyway. He might have been always planning on leaving, and therefore all of this is all happening, and it's like Kimmel could be gone anyway, and then suddenly Disney's left with the two deals they've tried to do, they can't do because some guy has left that was planning on leaving. Okay, I think that was the end. Like I said, there was a lot of questions. I can't believe we're 45 minutes into this live stream, and I feel like we've been on one topic. I don't know if we've actually ever had a topic so. It's really weird. I think even like the launch of Hulu on Disney Plus didn't get this many questions. Okay, let's get jumping it. So Keenan says Netflix is now in a bid to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery. What would happen to HBO Max after Warner Brothers Discovery gets acquired by another company? I do think that if they get whoever acquires them, HBO Max will probably end up being swallowed up into their streaming service, Netflix or Peacock or Paramount Plus. I think eventually you're going to see some consolidation. Kelly says, how do you feel about Disney acquiring an equity stake in Webtoon Entertainment? Seems a bit weird. I don't quite get why it would have made probably. I mean, I suppose maybe they're looking at the technology of like getting on it. I don't know. I mean, it did seem like a cool way of reading books, but I don't know. It seems a bit weird. If it was maybe more along the lines of them just trying to work out that if Webtoon does become more popular, that they've got a step in and they can do something with it. I mean, I did like the fact of being able to read a comic book. I know the Marvel Unlimited does it on their like unlimited comics, but anything that comes out in print doesn't get done that way. Keenan says, Warner Brothers Discovery wants to get rid of some of its linear channels. Could we see more live channels on HBO Max if this happens? Probably no. You might get more like stream kind of things, but at the end of the day, these channels are dying. Kayla says, it's been reported that Netflix is interested in Warner Brothers Discovery. This tells me that Zaslav is opening a bidding war. Who do you think is the wild card? The thing is as well, and remember what Comcast did to Disney when they tried to buy 20th Century Fox? They all started putting in bids and started making whoever was buying it to pay more. So it's going to work in Zaslav's benefit anyway. But I think Netflix is an interesting one. I mean, I think Netflix getting it would be good for them. I don't think it's good for the industry because I think it would just get swallowed up. Super chat here from Lester. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you so much. Harry Rog, long time no see. I don't really care too much about the late night, even though sometimes they have good monologues, but I don't really watch it like you. I catch the clips and sometimes it's funny. Yeah, and I think this is the big key thing. How many people actually watch the Kimmel Show? I mean, they're saying a couple of million, maybe. I think there's a lot of outrage and people being shouting a lot on the internet that are the vocal minority, and I think there's a lot of people that probably that are in that same boat where they might just watch it, they might just watch the odd clip or so, and really don't really care. And I think that is the vast majority. I think, again, the internet makes everything seem huge, but if you get outside of that bubble, probably no one even cares. But again, thank you so much, Lester, for your support. That is fantastic. Really do appreciate this. So I'm just going to try and see if we've got any other live ones here. Oh, here we go. Kenny says, that's why I asked the question, was WrestlePalooza really that bad? I know Reddit has been crapping on it, but I felt like it had a B-tier show in order not to crash the Disney apps. So far, I've only watched the Brock Lesnar Cena match. I watched that this morning. I will be watching the rest of the show later today. I've been out doing errands and stuff pretty much all day. And because it's technically my day off, even though I do this. But I think there was a lot of like this weird idea that suddenly it was going to be like a WrestleMania or a SummerSlam. And I think the expectations were it was just a normal premium live event with big matches. I think expectations were, it was kind of weird watching the whole ESPN opening on Netflix this morning. And there's a bit, again, because again, I was like here in the UK, ESPN is not that thing. We don't have it. It doesn't have that power over the rest of the world in the same way that it does in the US. But I don't really know too much. I think a lot of people just were expecting a lot more of it. Kelly says, remember the OWW Network app crashed during the NXT arrival? Yeah, I think that's very normal. So Sina says, do you think Netflix will purchase Warner Bros. Discovery? I mean, they could do, and it might allow them an option to have some TV channels to put their originals on. Also, it gives them a large, vast back catalogue to compete with Disney, Peacock. That would give them a massive library to bring in and really boost up Netflix. I don't know if it's too good for them to doing theatrical films. Thank you very much, Deshaun Edwards. Thank you so much for your support. What are your thoughts on the possibility that Comcast will get involved in the bidding war for Warner Bros. Discovery? I 100% do think that they are going to get involved. They've just got some money for the big green monster for Hulu, so they've got a bit of cash there to buy it. It would vastly improve what they offer. Here in the UK, HBO is kind of incorporated into Sky, which is basically our version of Peacock. So that would probably help them. I am without a doubt that Comcast are going to be bidding, if not to get it, but also just to make Paramount or Netflix pay more for it. They'll play the same thing. But again, thank you, Deshaun, for your super chat. Thank you so much. You guys are rocking today. It really does make a massive difference, as I said. Kids keep saying. Kelly says, I do think Jimmy Kimmel should take a page out of Kapil Sharma, going from linear to streaming, where he can push the envelope more. Disney Plus does allow TVMA shows as long as they do it. Disclaimer. I imagine if they did do it, it might be like a Hulu Disney Plus show, but I would imagine it might lean Hulu to give him a bit more space. Matt says, what show will replace Jimmy Kimmel in the time slot? I think they've got some quiz show or something in there at the minute. There has been a lot of talk that the ABC affiliates want that slot for something else that they don't really want. They can just put a repeat in and it'll be a lot cheaper. Again, there is a underlying problem with the linear channels and the affiliates that are less interested in these chat shows than they used to be. It's not like the old days of Jay Leno and David Letterman and Conan O'Brien and whoever was before that. The interest is genuine, and I think they are looking that some of the channels want to get rid of them anyway. Matt says, if Kimmel does shift it, I could see it simulcast Sports Center. Hey, yeah, I mean, that could do it. I mean, it doesn't really need to be live, does it? Because it's all pre-recorded. Babak says, I think the problem with the late night interviews, they spend 5 minutes talking about random stuff and 2 minutes about the movie. It's just all fluff. It's just promotion. Babak says, I think a streaming option would be the best. Miles says, what's your take on JD Liftsteins and Ralph Boulder Like Pictures planning to lead a new genre label at Paramount Pictures. No lie, no idea who they are. No idea who they are. I think ultimately, if they have a Searchlight Pictures / Focus brand for Paramount, that's good for filmmakers. It's good for us to have options, good for us to have different choices. I do think just having alternatives and low movies is a really good thing. Matt says, what shows from Fox or ABC that you're looking forward to? Return of Grey's Anatomy is definitely up there. What else am I looking forward to? I haven't really got into 911. Was it High Potential season 2 just started this week, so I haven't watched this week's episode yet, but I do like that show. I still haven't caught up with Will Trent. The Fox side is a little bit more tricky because a lot of those shows don't actually sometimes make it over here. So a lot of them I haven't seen. So I wouldn't necessarily say the Fox ones I'm really too in the line of what they are. Miles says, what are your thoughts on the FX chief John Landgraf comments regarding Paramount Skydance proposed acquisition of Warner Bros? To be honest, I haven't seen his comment, so I can't talk about it because I haven't seen it. Bubba Tronic says, should WWPLE be on a Disney Plus base plan? I think the trouble, this whole thing with ESPN and WWE this week is a bit weird because I've seen a lot of people saying, I'm not spending $30 a month on just to get access to a PLE. And it's a bit like, well, you are getting all the other ESPN content. It's not like it's not like a pay-per-view. People seem to be like putting this like weird thing of like, that's the price of it. Now, I do believe that the next premium live event, more cable companies are going to offer the ESPN Unlimited option, so you should be able to watch it anyway. I thought that if you had ESPN, they were going to show it on one of the ESPN channels. I didn't realize that it was only on the streaming app. I don't know. Let's just say I'm just glad that everything's on Netflix here in the UK. And I mean, it must have been quite weird to watch live WWE on Disney Plus last night. I mean, that must have been quite weird. Bubba Tron says it would be a good idea if the 5 big events were on Disney Plus as well as a standard. The trouble is, again, they're trying to sell you to upgrade to the ESPN. They want you to spend money on it. Now, I'm not convinced that ESPN Unlimited is sustainable at the price that it is. I just feel like paying $30 a month for sports is too much. I don't think the streaming world is going to be able to suck that up. Bubba says, why is Dancing with the Stars not live on the West Coast? It means West Coast viewers can't vote. I did find this weird, but I'm guessing the only reason they do that is because, well, I'm guessing if it's like prime time East Coast, it's like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So they hold it back for the evening slot. But yeah, it does seem a bit weird of how that works. Again, Strictly Come Dancing just started last night, so that's kind of it coming in. Matt says, have you seen Doc? No, but that I know when that does come on. I don't think it's anywhere yet in the UK. Miles asks, do you think that Gato could be the first computer-generated shot entirely with virtual IMAX cameras, utilizing technology developed for Lightyear, but on a grander scale? Yeah, because they do keep getting better each time. So and this is the cool thing with Pixar is, so all the money they spent on like Lightyear, and all the money they spent on Luca, and all the money they spent on Turning Red, and all the money they've spent on Elio, is going to benefit future movies because the technology that was advanced for those movies is then used on the later movies. So sometimes there are advantages from a dud that we don't see, but the company does, because it all gets incorporated into the cost. Elias says the top 10 on Disney Plus for each region. What has Disney officially said that contributes to how it's created? So they haven't said that they will pick them. They will pick them up, and they are just picking it. So do you agree with them? I'm not going to lie. I don't really pay much attention to I used to pay more attention to the trending tab, but the top 10, in all honesty, is completely pointless from the point of view of stats because it doesn't mean anything. it's completely manipulated to the fact of you. I was like, what is your theory on why we see what's in the top 10? Most of the time, so if you go into Disney Plus, so let's just bring it up. Here we go. So in here now. So let's see what's trending in the top 10 UK this at the moment. Movie nights, top 10 in the UK. Elio, Lilo and Stitch, Alien Earth, Thunderbolts, High Potential, Swiped, Incredibles, Ratatouille, and Build a Galaxy. Well, most of them are the new releases. I did watch Swipe this afternoon. All right, wasn't amazing. But Incredibles 1 and 2 and Ratatouille, like, why are they in there? It doesn't make any sense. And you're telling me that Elio is number 1. Yeah. What Alien Earth? That's fantastic. Watched that last night. That was so cool. Just seeing if we still got the trending tab. Here we go. So the trending tab, because if this trending tab is based on real numbers, like Elio's the 5th, so why is it in the top 10? And why are these 4 shows not even in the top 10? And for example, like, where's the Incredibles? Why are they not in the, they're not in the trending tab? So I don't have a lot of faith in that tab at all, to be fair. Bubba20 says, why do you think concerts that are on Hulu aren't on Hulu on Disney Plus? It could be a licensing thing. That's what I'm guessing it's going to be. When they agreed to those contracts, they were Hulu only, and maybe they don't feel like they're maybe doing live streams onto Hulu that are Hulu from Disney. There's got to be some licensing issues there. Kelly says, what are your thoughts on the ABC doing a special on Disneyland 70th anniversary? Makes total sense. I mean, this was how Disney got involved with ABC in the beginning, was Walt Disney doing these specials every single week about the creation of Disneyland. It makes 100%, and it just makes sense on so many levels. Okay, just spotted there another super chat from Lester. Thank you again. Thank you so much for your continued support. I'm subscribed to the Disney Hulu bundle, and I use a gift card to pay for that. The price is you have to choose what's viable and what's important to you to watch in your time and worth it. 100%. I think the gift card option is really good, especially if you can get a good deal, especially around Black Friday. I think now getting the bundle, you're at a point where it just makes total sense, because it's literally like, what was it, $10.99 without the bundle and $11.99 with the bundle. The dollar, you might as well get both and have the full experience. Again, that's what I think the price is going to be when they merge them anyway. But yeah, you get what you want. And it's like this whole thing with Kimmel and all the rest of it. And in general, you need to spend what you can afford. If you're struggling, if you're not got, then it's a case of you go on the tier that you can afford. Go down to the ad-supported tier to save some money. Do you need it? Can you alternate between the streaming services? Do you need to have 6 streaming services, or can you survive on 3? Can you survive on 2? And you've got, everyone has got to have their own set of what you want. Some shows, some streaming platforms are must-haves. Disney Plus for me is, because I like the franchises. I like what comes out of it. There's always something on there that I want to watch. And I have Netflix all the time. We also have Apple TV all the time. But the other ones, I churn. Again, thank you, Lester, for that super chat. Ricardo says, is Hulu actually coming internationally on October 8th when Disney start announcing it? So this was announced it was in a description on a live stream of like a marathon of Futurama. Disney hasn't officially announced it. I'm not expecting them to officially announce it. I suspect one day we are going to wake up and Hulu on the 8th, Hulu will suddenly Star will change to Hulu, and there'll be a social media campaign to inform us of what's happened. They never announced Hulu on Disney Plus, what date that was going to launch on. It just launched one day. I'm not expecting there to be any major announcements. Bubba Tron says, I thought to use a VPN to watch the PLE as I have ESPN through Disney Plus. Well, if you have ESPN, you might as well watch it there. That would make sense. Keenan says, so this is the last of the pre-done questions. Since something wicked this way comes to Disney Plus, then Disney should be releasing some back catalog content in the future. I hope so. I would love this to be the start of them now starting to embrace some of the library content. I do think that they should be releasing a couple of movies or a couple of shows a month. Why not? Why not use, they spent all that money on these back catalogs and making this stuff. Use it. It's what they can compete against with Amazon and Netflix and stuff. Use it. I just hope we start seeing more of it. But we might need to watch these movies in order to make it worthwhile. Okay, so we're live for the rest of the show. So if you've got any more questions, feel free to put them in. So this is a bit of a last call because otherwise I'm going to run out of questions. Also, next week, I will not be doing a live stream. I'm going to be taking the week off. So there will be some videos going up. I've pre-recorded a few. I'm going to do any news. I'm going to try and get a little bit ahead of it. But yeah, so next week there won't be a live Q&A, but there will be one the week after. It's just going to be a one week I won't be doing it. Ricardo says, some sites said Bob Iger announced the international rollout in a quarterly meeting this week. Well, first off, there was no quarterly meeting this week. There was one about a month ago, and he said that it would be happening in the fall. But like I said, all the information that came out about the 8th came from this Futurama stream that they had on the official Hulu live channel. Matt says, do you think Alien Earth will get a season 2? Yes, I think they've already written it. It's such a cool show. This week's episode was great. I loved it. Miles says, when do you think the teaser trailer for Toy Story 5 will be released online? Doesn't come out till June, is that right? I mean, if it was me, I mean, they might put it out with a Toy Story re-release, but maybe either Hoppers or Zootopia 2. Maybe Zootopia 2 put out a little teaser. Might be about right time. I wouldn't go too early. Again, I would want all the focus to be on this holiday season on Zootopia 2 and Avatar. I wouldn't want to be pushing like... Personally, I would just do it for Hoppers. Kenneth says, what are your favorite memories of Robert Redford? So it's kind of interesting. I was looking through his list of movies, and this is where I actually felt quite bad. So my history of Robert Redford movies literally is the Marvel films. I went through them and going, I was going through the list of movies. I'm like, I don't think I've seen any of these movies. I don't think I really saw him in anything until like Avengers and Civil War or whatever it was. So he was always like an actor that popped up in movies that I just didn't ever watch. So there's a few like Hollywood actors, there's not too many of them, but he seems to have avoided a lot of the movies I like to watch. He didn't make. So yeah, I it's kind of weird. Everyone was, I mean, he was pretty old when he died, which obviously it's tragic, but it's not like it's unexpected. I always have this thing of like when a celebrity dies and they're kind of like north of 75, 80, it's a bit like, okay, well, that's kind of normal. But yeah, I wasn't a huge. He was a Hollywood actor and he was in lots of stuff, but he really didn't kind of star in the movies other than the Avengers and Marvel stuff that I ever really watched. He just wasn't that in there. Okay, so it's a shame that the news of Robert Redford passing got overshadowed. Yeah, well, again, it's convenient, isn't it? Putting the left versus the right makes more noise. Robert says, enjoy your week off. Hopefully no more bombshell news report. Well, I still will be covering any news on the website. I still will be working every day. I do have Wi-Fi, so I will be covering some news, but I won't be. It's only going to be I'll be checking in each day for an hour or so and just kind of covering the highlights. Usually, what happens is there will be some news. If I can record, it's going to depend on the upload speed. If I do like a short or something, but I am going to try. I'm going to try and have a break. I've not had a week off since last October. And again, I say week off. I still did 2-3 hours a day, even while I was off last time, and I'll be doing the same again. I never really get a day off, but I'm going to try. My wife is like, you've got to have some time off. Okay, it says, when do you watch movies for Hallowed? Do you mean Halloween? Okay, so again, Halloween here in the UK is very different than it is in the United States. It is a very it's Halloween is not really the same kind of thing here. When I was growing up, you had a little bit of trick-or-treating. Kids got dressed up. You either went as a ghost in a white sheet, or you went as a witch and you would put you basically went out in a black bag. I literally had, I think, one Halloween party when I was a kid. It might be a bit different now, but Halloween is not celebrated in the same way, and most of the celebrations here have been influenced by American culture, and a lot of British people do not like it. The stores are all starting to fill up with the Halloween stuff, but a lot of it is like individual families might do stuff. Trick-or-treating, we kind of have a rule. It's kind of an unwritten rule of, if you want to go trick-or-treating, if you put decorations out, that means that you're taking part. If you don't put decorations out, don't bother knocking. I'm very much in the mindset of, you keep your lights off and you never answer the door on Halloween. It's not a big thing for me. The only real reason I actually in terms for me personally, like Halloween, it is it's actually the Mickey Mouse Halloween party. That was, I know, because everyone was getting dressed, and I have only once dressed up for Halloween in my entire life, and I think I was probably 7. That was like a really great. That was going to the theme parks and seeing the Halloween stuff. That was like great. I mean, that's for me was where I sort of. But as far as Halloween movies, I don't really like horror films. And I don't have nostalgia for Halloween. It just doesn't happen. It's not really it's just not. I have no childhood. There's just no connection to it. And so all the stuff that the American movies push, that never happened. It's kind of weird. It's just, so I don't really watch anything for that one. Babatron says, when do you think ESPN will be on Disney Plus outside the US? I thought they were going to launch it here now, because I think they got some football coming on, but I don't know. I'm wondering if they're going to hold off another year till they get some more, until the NBA starts. Derek, thank you so much for your super chat. You guys are rocking today with the super chats. You're amazing. And again, just thank you so much for your support. I'm sure you heard that Comcast and Netflix are in the mix to buy Warner Bros. Discovery. Have a nice vacation. I'm on mine right now. Oh, lovely. Hope you're somewhere nice and enjoying the break. And thank you very much for taking your time out on your vacation to watch me. Hopefully you're having a good time. Yeah, the thing is, I think Comcast buying Warner Bros., they could really do with that. They could obviously, I don't know. I mean, it would be a lot easier for them to incorporate the channels into their business. They have it would massively help them boost up their theme parks with franchises. Suddenly, I mean, you look at it from that point of view, Universal Studios could then have access to DC superheroes. I don't know necessarily about Harry Potter, but you think of all the fantastic franchises that Warner Brothers have that they could incorporate into the theme parks. It's like just a no-brainer for me. Again, huge thank you for your support. Kay says, if the week gets noisy with news, I'll ask my best questions. Yeah, I will. I'm going to do that actually when I finish this. I'm going to schedule them up so the questions go out on the same day as normal. Right. On that note, guys, thank you so much. I also just want to, again, thank you to Tough Luck, to Miles, to Lester, to Deshaun, and also Derek. Thank you so much for your super chats. Today was a very weird Q&A. Again, I do always try and stay out of the politics kind of things. I am very much in the mindset that you should feel free to vote for who you want, and your responsibility, and it's everyone has the right to vote, and everyone should, it should be an interest to everyone, but your opinions you're entitled to. And I'm very much in that mindset of, you can have people from different parties and you can debate, and sometimes as well, and I think this is very much a case with politics as a whole. I find this whole idea of left and right weird, because I probably would maybe say I'm maybe more in the middle, because sometimes the people on the left say good things that are worthwhile doing, and things that sometimes come from the right can be correct. There's a kind of thing of, there's usually somewhere in the middle is where the probably the better ideas are. And I think there's crazy stuff on either side, and you've just kind of got to weigh it up. Again, what's center here in the UK probably would be a bit more different in the US, and there are some stuff in the US with politics that just don't exist here in the UK, so it's a bit, that does shift it. But again, thank you so much for everyone's support. It's been a very, very weird and wacky week, and a very weird and wacky Q&A. But on that note, guys, thank you very much, and I shall see you guys in 2 weeks' time. But obviously there will be videos and posts, etc., during the week. And on that note, guys, thank you very much. See you guys soon. Ta-ta. See you later. Ta-ta.